Hello to everybody. I hope you can see me and hear me clearly. My name is Charles Koenner, and today I'm here to make an introduction of the space part of Horizon Europe. And the webinar today is organized together with Lux Innovation and the LSA, Luxembourg Space Agency. And it's called Space Opportunities in Horizon Europe, and more specifically about Cluster 4. So here I am. You see the big logo, so you know where I am, and I'm going to start sharing my presentation. So here we go. Okay, space opportunities in Horizon 4, in Horizon Europe Cluster 4. Maybe a brief overview of the webinar. So we will start with a short introduction. Afterwards, we are going to talk about, we will give you an overview of Horizon Europe program, the 3 pillars that are forming Horizon Europe. And of course, then we will go always a layer deeper and talk about pillar 2, where the space part is located, with the expected impacts of space, of the space part. As I said, this is in Cluster 4, which is called Industry, Digital and Space. And there we have 6 thematics of Cluster 4. So we will talk about that very specifically. And then the part which is interesting to you, because I guess you are most of you are part of the Luxembourgish space community. So we'll talk about the work plan 2021 with a focus on thematic space. And there we have 15 topics, and these 15 topics are represent also the 15 calls of 2021. And then we finish with a question and answers session where you can ask your questions to me, and I will try to answer them. So yeah, a brief introduction. So I work at the LSA, more specifically in the Economic Development Department, in Patricia's team. Patricia Conti, who you may know. I am the national contact point for the space part of Horizon Europe, and I'm also an ESA delegate in the technology harmonization group. Basically, this covers these 2 committees on Commission side and ESA side cover all the technology aspects on the European scene. So Horizon Europe, it's a transition from H2020. There are novelties, there are new goals and new visions, of course. And I've seen in the participant list that there are also newcomers, persons who I do not know personally. So welcome to you. So we have a great mix of newcomers and also experienced players that know the Horizon Europe H2020 also pretty well. So I will try to give you good explanations that can satisfy everybody. As you know, the European Commission, it's a huge machine, and today I will try to help you to get first insights in the program. Here are my contact details also, because the goal today is not to go too much into detail. So I will give you a broad overview, and if you have specific questions, get back to me, and we can have bilateral meetings also, of course. I see pop-ups all the time here. I don't know what it is. I'm just going to shortly look in the chat. Okay, everybody's saying hello. And I see first questions. I cannot see the slides. Hi, Charles. Thanks for the presentation. Yes. So I will talk with Lux Innovation afterwards, and we will upload this presentation on their website, and then you can download it from there. The presentation has a lot of information It's difficult to remember everything, or simply get in touch with me and I will send you the presentation in PDF format. Good. So let's start with an overview of Horizon Europe. So you know that it's the European Union's research and innovation program, and so it's a follow-up of H2020, and this will run from 2021 to 2027, so the same period as the current MFF, the multi-financial framework. So the program is divided into 3 pillars. So Pillar 1, excellent science, 25 billion euros, yes, get used to the numbers. Pillar 2, global challenges and European industrial competitiveness. So there we have the biggest budget with 53.5 billion euros. So don't forget that it's for the whole period. And Pillar 3, 13.6 billion euros with which is called Innovative Europe. So I will give you a short explanation about the 3 pillars. So Pillar 1, excellent science, is there to reinforce and extend the excellence of the Union's science space. And there, as you see, we have different bricks. So the first one, the European Research Council, and there the goal is to push back the limits of the current knowledge. They call that frontier research, and they try to support the best of the best researchers researchers in Europe across all fields of science, scholarship, and engineering. So don't get confused. This is not all about space. It's transversal. It's for all technology domains. And then in the European Research Council, there you also have grants that address different levels of technology readiness level. And then the Marie Sklodowska-Curie actions, there the goal is to equip researchers with new knowledge and skills through mobility and training. So basically to promote staff exchanges through international mobility programs. And then the last one, the research infrastructures, this one is meant to endow Europe with world-class research infrastructures, which are open and accessible to the best researchers from Europe and beyond. And when I say beyond, it's associated countries, but not only. It's also beyond Europe. Okay, and then I will jump to Pillar 3 because we will go into detail on Pillar 2. So a few explanations on Pillar 3. There we have a new element, which is the EIC, so the European Innovation Council, and this has a budget of roughly, I think it's 15 or 16 billion euros, and I will go into detail on this one because it's new and I find it very interesting, so I have a special slide on this. Basically it's to stimulate market creating breakthroughs and ecosystem conducive to innovation. Yes, so as I said, we will focus on Pillar 2. So here, as you can see, we have different clusters and they cover different domains, technological domains, health, culture, creativity, and inclusive society. Cluster 3, civil security and for society. Cluster 4, where space is located, digital, industry, and space. So we have one cluster for these 3 domains and topics. Cluster 4, climate, energy, and mobility. And then the last one, food, bioeconomy, natural resources, agriculture, and environment. And the Joint Research Center is also part of Pillar 2 with a separated budget. Good, and this brings us to a total budget of 95.5 billion euros. Also here, if you want more explanations about this, I include a little link here, and you will land on a webpage where you can read, can find more information about the different elements of Horizon Europe. So let's jump into Pillar 2, global challenges and industrial competitiveness. Here we go. So The objective is to boost key technologies and solutions underpinning European policies and sustainable development goals. As I told you, we have 6 different clusters, and here I created this list also to see the different budgets of the clusters, and we see that cluster 4, digital industry and space, has the biggest budget with 15.35 billion euros. Good. As I told you, I just wanted to make a little introduction about the European Innovation Council, what it is. So basically, the EIC is within Pillar 3, and it supports innovation with disruptive nature and scale-up potential that are too risky for private investors. So basically, it's for topics where that are not close to market yet and that need private investments. So this is why they have this technology or this element in the program. And what's interesting is that 70% of the budget is earmarked for SMEs. And so with many co-funding opportunities. And they have complementary instruments bridging the gap from idea to market. So with different that are TRL dependent, and this goes from the Pathfinder for TRLs, TRL 1 to 4. Then you have the transition stage, which goes from TRL 5 to 6, and finally the accelerator for products very close to the market for TRL 7 to 9. And so there, then the national contact point is Mr. Stefano Pozzi, a senior advisor from Lux Innovation. So back to cluster 4, industry, digital, and space. So here we go. So as I said, Horizon Europe supports research and innovation through work programs. So we have one work program for the whole cluster. So it's a transversal work program that covers the different elements. So you can reply to the calls you want. The actions on the cluster 4 will support key enabling technologies that are strategically important for Europe's industrial future. So this all builds up on the first strategic plan, which has been compiled through lots of consultation with scientists, entrepreneurs, and citizens. And so it really brings in different perspectives, and this all translates into 6 expected impacts through a series of destinations. So you will all see that now in the next slide, that cover the different technology sectors. So here you go. Here you have the expected impacts of cluster 4. So I will not read it all because it's a long list. But just to explain you how transversal it is, the main expected impacts are digital and industrial value chains. So to improve these value chains, a big focus on the green technologies, keeping the Green Deal back in our heads. So this is a very, very important objective of the European Commission has. Secure and agile data economies, European non-dependence. Non-dependence is also a very important point because Europe really tries now to develop all the technology bricks that are missing currently, so to be an autonomous continent. As an example, we have big data, then next generation computing, and Earth observation. So these are different domains, but that come all together in this cluster. So this translates into 6 destinations. So of cluster 4, so cluster 4 has 6 destinations. And the calls of the work program are divided into these 6 destinations. And here you see destination 5, which is open strategic autonomy in developing, deploying, and using global space-based infrastructures, services, applications, and data. And the budget for these 2 years, so the work program of cluster 4 is for 2 years, 21-22, And in destination 5, so the destination space, if you want, is roughly 500 million euros divided over 2 years. Other clusters, let me name them: climate neutral, circular and digitized production, increased autonomy in key strategic value chains for resilient industry, world-leading data and computing technology. So this is also a very interesting cluster destination, excuse me. Destination 4, digital and emerging technologies for competitive and fit for the Green Deal. And then the last one focuses on human-centered and ethical developments for digital industry and technologies. Don't get confused, these are the gross budgets, so basically the budgets that you will see in the different calls. They will sum up to a different amount, because here we also have administrative costs, so that's why you have the gross budgets. So in destination 5, we have different headings. So the calls are divided into different topics, and you see them here. So we have 7 different headings over 2 years, and I will not go now into detail because you will see them in the presentation afterwards when I present the 15 calls to you for 2021. So let's talk about the work program, the work plan 2021 now, with the focus on space. So here I give you an overview of the 15 calls that are going to come now. So basically it was foreseen, the call opening was foreseen for the 6th of May, but due to the current discussions that are going on at the Commission, it's not ready yet. Basically, there is one difficult point for what concerns the inclusion of third countries. So countries that are not in the that are not member states. That's a very hot topic currently. Maybe you saw it also in the news. Yeah, basically it touches on all the calls that are sensitive or strategic. Also for the autonomy of Europe and the security. So there the Commission is reflecting about the fact to include partners like countries like Israel, the UK now, Switzerland. So these are difficult discussions, and it delayed the opening of the calls. So they will open, from the last news I got, the 12th of May. So it's pretty soon, and 1 week later than initially planned. So here you have the list with all the different topics. Instruments I will explain in the next slide. You have the budgets and also the number of projects to be funded for each topic, for each call. And just maybe also to explain, it's not like ESA calls. There here in Horizon Europe, we do not have statements of work in the call data. So basically what the Commission says in the call, they give you a budget, and they give you an outcome, an expected outcome, and not much more basically. And it's up to you to make a proposition that fits the budget and has this specific objective. So a friend of mine, a colleague of mine from Lowcost Innovation, Géraud, also always has this analogy with you need 1 hour to drive through a city. Basically, the Commission says we have a call here, and we want to improve this. We want to turn it down to 10 minutes, and now you have to find the solution to do that. And basically, they give you a budget for this, but they don't care how you do it, either by an innovative car, a drone, a jetpack, or I don't know. It's up to you to find a solution. And basically, this is the spirit here. Before we jump into the calls, I wanted also to give you a slide, to make a slide that gathers all the useful information. So here you have, so just for you to know, the work program is not published yet. As I told you, it's will be from 12th of May on. But what you can already find on the internet are the general annexes. So basically this explains all the specificities of the program, like the admissibility conditions, eligibility, financial and operational capacity, award criteria, the documents that you need to provide, and the selection procedures. And also here you have 2 other links that you can follow when you download the presentation afterwards about the funding and tender opportunities. So this is the link where you will find all this, and also an online manual about the funding and tenders portal. So these are the different instruments and type of actions that you will always find in the calls. So basically this defines also the funding level of the calls. So you have the 2 main type of actions are research and innovation actions and innovation actions. So RIA, research and innovation actions, are there to explore the feasibility of new technologies or to improve technologies. So it's more on the beginning, let's say lower TRLs, and that's why it's also 100% funded. So the risk is high here. And then on innovation actions, there the funding level is 70%, except for non-profit legal entities, it can go up to 100%. And this is all right for a bit higher TRLs. And then, so the 2021 calls are all going to use these instruments here. And then we're not going to detail CSA and PCP. So CSA, coordination and support actions, is for dissemination, communication, networking activities, things like that. And PCP is for public procurement. Yes, this is always explained in the call. So the first heading, foster competitiveness of space systems. So this is, so just to explain the template, so you have also the topic idea through which you can, it's the code of the call. And this one, the first one, is about end-to-end satellite communication systems and associated services. So it's an innovation action, so not fully funded, with a budget of roughly 12 million, and we expect 2 projects. I say expect because this is for an indication. We are not sure that it's really going to be 2, but that's what the Commission believes now. And here you also have the opening and the deadline of the calls. And the scope of this call is flexible end-to-end satellite communication systems. So it can be pretty interesting for our community. And it will also focus on security aspects. So again, I tell you, for each call, you have 2 pages descriptions in the work program. Now here, what I do is give you a broad overview. I just want to touch it and take your note. If you find something that interesting, you get back to me. And then if you want, we can go deeper in the description to provide all the important information to you to see if it's a good match or not. Next one, future space ecosystems, on-orbit operations, new system concepts. So this is an RIA, so 100% funded with 5.9 million euros, and here we expect 3 projects. And this one, I find it pretty interesting. Basically, the scope is to enable the industrialization and new services in space by intelligent solutions and concepts, exploiting synergies with terrestrial sectors and cultivating an app store and open architecture mentality. So this can be pretty interesting for our community. The thing is always, now if you have 1 call with 2 potential projects, so 3 potential fundings, it's a good idea to go in a consortium to do that, not to do it alone, but try to find the allies and do it with them. And I know that as the Commission wants to also to promote these international aspects, they like consortia with different members coming from different member states. So, and then we have the next heading, reinforce EU capacity to access and use space. So that's for Luxembourg, unfortunately, it's not a very important topic because that's not what we focus on. But let's say for Europe, it's a fundamental topic. So here the main call, it's the numbers are right. So the topic is reusability for strategic space launchers, technologies, and operation maturation, including flight test demonstration. So this is by far the largest budget for a call in the work program, and we expect one project. And so the scope is to reduce the costs. So let's say the overarching objective is to achieve a price cost reduction of 50% by 2030, so in 9 years, with respect to Ariane 6 and Vega C prices, 2021 economic conditions. So a price reduction of 50% using reusable space launchers. So there our American colleagues are much more advanced. So basically we have this call here to catch up the delay. So a pretty big call. And then low-cost, high-trust propulsion for European strategic space launchers, technologies maturation, including ground tests. So this is also an important call, and the activities shall address maturation of enabling green propulsion, building blocks, tools and processes, including maintenance, overhaul, and safety. So up to TRL 5.6. Next call, new space transportation solutions and services. So this is an innovative action for 3 million euros and 2 projects. And this is the continuation of, let's say, existing developments, because here we want to reach TRL 5 or 6. And if you read the description, it's pretty broad. So, for instance, we could also think about autonomous navigation in space servicing, because it says solutions and services for new space transportation. So it's pretty broad. And so this one, I find it pretty interesting. Then we come to another topic, the evolution of Copernicus services. With first call, Copernicus climate change service evolution. So basically, here we have an research and innovation action for 11 million euros with 1 project. So yeah, as it's the evolution of a service, I'm going to tell you right away, it will be pretty tough to get in there, because we have 1 project, and of course, we already have actors in Europe that are very experienced in that domain. So it's going to be quite tough to get in there. So here we are aiming at new product chains, data fusion, data processing, and data visualization that are essential for the service, and to handle high volume satellite data sets. Basically, it's to use to make the service, to make an evolution of the service also according to the new data that is going to be generated through the new satellite to the new Sentinel generations and the high priority candidate missions that are going to be launched in the next years. So I go to the next call, Copernicus atmosphere monitoring service evolution. Here it's the same story, 7.4 million euros for 1 project. And the scope is new and innovative data assimilation of atmospheric composite satellite observations to deliver near real-time observation based emissions of reactive gases and aerosols. So the focus is on composite satellite observations, so using different services of Copernicus to deliver near real-time atmospheric data. Next call, Copernicus Security and Emergency Services Evolution. So this one is also quite interesting for 4.6 million euros and 1 project. And so here the main goal is to reduce time for access to data. And because of this the emergency aspect that we have here, and inclusion of also non-Earth observation data. So using in situ data or data coming from other sources. So they surprised the Commission. Good. And also we have a synergy with Cluster 3, Civil Security for Society. So this, if you include this in your call, in your proposal, it's a big plus. Next call, Copernicus evolution for cross-services thematic domains. Also in RIA for 5.6 million euros. We expect 2 projects. And here we, the Commission wants the actors develop a proof of concept or a prototype with a Copernicus-based solution to improve the European capacity for monitoring and forecasting the Arctic and the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. So here, yeah, we have one proof of concept to monitor sustainable development goals indications. Good. So this is the tricky part of the program, because here we are going to address strategic and sensitive topics such as GovSatcom and quantum, and there basically the discussions that are ongoing with third countries, the inclusion of third countries like Israel, UK, Norway, Switzerland. So here we have it. Basically, the Commission is not sure about inclusion of these countries, and the thing is that we are talking here about long-term partnerships that were ongoing in the frame of H2020, and now with this new politic, this may not be possible anymore. So this is why it's such a complicated discussion, and it's about the calls that you will find here. So quantum technologies for space gravimetry, and research and innovation action for roughly 17 million euros. We talk about 1 project, and the scope is the development of quantum gravimeter with the objective to get an engineering model and have it up to qualification, targeting TRL 5-6. As I said, it's a sensitive topic. So the next heading is targeted and strategic actions supporting the European space sector, so pretty broad. With a call here, space technologies for European non-dependence and competitiveness for roughly 12 million euros, and we expect 4 projects. And basically what you have is there is a list of critical technologies that need to be developed until 2023, and this call addresses this list of critical space technologies that are necessary for European technologies to reach non-dependence in certain domains, such as RF components, discrete power devices, very high energy ion accelerators for components. So it's pretty broad, and you find this list also on the internet. Next heading, development of applications from the European Space Program components. So here, this one is pretty interesting also. It's EGNSS and Copernicus applications, so we go more on the downstream side now, fostering the European Green Deal. So an innovation action for 14 million euros. And here it's pretty good because we have 6 projects that I expected. So chances are higher to get into. And the scope, the proposal shall focus on the development of innovative EGNSS and Copernicus applications to support the Green Deal objectives. And there also, if you are able to combine EGNSS and Copernicus data to reach this objective, it's a very good point, and good chances to get a positive proposal feedback. The next one, EGNSS applications for safety and crisis management, innovation actions for 9.3 million euros. Also 4 projects. And here we have two scopes, improved emergency, disaster risk management, and societal resilience. And there also we seek synergies with the Copernicus emergency response service. Yes, and the second scope, timing and synchronization applications, focusing on emerging network synchronization needs of critical infrastructures. Electricity, telecommunication, financial infrastructure, and so on. Next call, 53, EGNSS applications for the digital age. Also 4 projects for a budget of 9.3 million euros. So just to be more specific on this, the budget is 9.3 million euros, and then this budget is divided into 4 smaller budgets for each project. And so here the scope, proposals may be submitted in any of the following areas: so mobile solutions, mobile health, robotics, AI and big data, cybersecurity solutions that are stimulating privacy, security of locations, data, exploiting synergies with quantum. So here we also have this ethical component linked to other destinations of cluster 4, namely the ethical and human link also. And here we also have IoT. And just to let you know, so here we are seeking about making research on the trade-offs in terms of accuracy of the tracking of the navigation part and the battery life. So you cannot always have both components. It's whether you have a short battery life but high accuracy or vice versa. So things like that. And then we're almost done with 21 calls. So basically these were the 15 calls, and on top of that you have also other actions that are not subject to calls for proposals. You will also find the description in the work program. And among these other actions, I picked out a few because it's transversal. It's not only space, but this one is pretty interesting. It's the EIC Horizon and Cassini Prize for Digital Space Applications. So the instrument here is a prize. So that's new, and the name speaks for itself, how this works. And the budget is 3.4 million euros to be awarded to one or several winning contestants. It's for SMEs only, and so the prize will be awarded to one or several best data-driven marine or maritime digital applications. And also here we want to use Copernicus and Galileo data or other sources as well to detect and monitor ocean pollution. Here also in other actions, the EIC Horizon and Castini Prize for Space Technology Products and Services. So here we have 5 million euro budget, and to be eligible you need to be a member in a member state of the European Union or an associated country. Also for the last call, let me go back here. The opening is end of this year, so Q3 2021. Same for this one. And here for this prize, this one will be awarded for solution that can also be demonstrated in, that can be operational in the environment already. Good. And then the very last one, I find this one particularly interesting because it supports European new space entrepreneurship through the Cassini Space Initiative that goes from 2021 to 2027. So this is a public procurement for roughly 11 million euros. And the scope is, you have two scopes. The Cassini Business Accelerator, which is meant to boost business development of innovative startups. So also here we are looking at early stage revenue growth and make them ready for investments, private investments. And then the second one is about hackathons and monitoring. So there we have budget for this. Innovation competitions to stimulate new ideas and prototypes based on data from Copernicus and EGNOS or Galileo. So this is it for the calls. I made this slide also to tell you how to prepare your proposals in Horizon Europe. So it's not an easy task. We are aware of that, and therefore a few weeks ago the Commission made a webinar on the 24th of March about how to prepare a successful proposal in Horizon Europe. They have 2 sessions, and this touches on the admissibility aspects of your proposals, the submission process. So how is Horizon Europe working compared to H2020, the funding rates, and the evaluation process. So to be fully transparent. And here I've included the link. It's on YouTube, and this helps you to make better proposals and have better chances to win. And this is the end of the 2021 part. It's to be continued next year. Before we go to the Q&A session, I just wanted to tell you that the presentation here that you can download afterwards also includes all the calls for 2022, as they are already in the work plan. So here you are, same principle, same mechanism. You have the overview and then the different headings with the calls. So this is it, and I'm open for questions. I hope I can answer them. Is anybody from Lux Innovation here? Because they are managing the platform here, and I don't know if people just simply have to join the stage. Here, I see Rebecca already shared the link to download this presentation. So I'm sorry if the last part was quite boring, but we have to go through the calls to explain to you what exists, what is on the menu. Now it's up to you to go into detail, maybe also read the work program and get back to me if you identified anything specific in the work program. So here we have questions. Okay. So I know this presentation is for Luxembourgish companies, but what is the latest status of UK company eligibility to participate in the calls? So basically, Dan, as I told you, for the program is open basically to anybody, but there are restrictions for sensitive topics, as I told you. GovSat, SST for space, quantum computing, very important. So for UK, it will be pretty complicated to include them, but we have to see what the outcome of the discussions are. Can we combine Copernicus and non-Copernicus data? Of course, yes, this is welcome. If you manage to do this, it's a very, very positive point for your proposals. And also, Dan, this is always specified in the call. If the Commission wants you to do so or encourages you to do that, it's in the call. It's in the description of the call. How does it work in case we would like to join an existing consortium that you might be aware of? Well, it's all about connections and lobbying, I guess, unfortunately. Yes, but yeah, it's similar to how it works with ESA. You have to get in touch with these people, or as if you decide to be a prime, set up your own consortium and then make the proposal as prime. is there the typical minimum of 3 countries in a consortium? This is true for the EIC, so in Pillar 3. This is a condition, I know that. But for the Horizon Europe calls, it's I think it's specific to the call. Of course, it's much better when you come with an international consortium. But this one, Ricardo, you can find it in the general annexes. I included also the link to download the general annexes of Horizon Europe, and this is described much more in detail in the general annex. And then Christine, Charles, within cluster 4, where are the JUs funded? Under which budget? So good question. I'm not sure about this one, but I think that when you have the budgets, let me go back to the slide. So I told you that here you have the gross budgets, and when you go to the net budgets, you have to count. So basically, the JU budgets are in there already. So this includes also the costs for the JUs, the budget for JU. Is the size of the company taken into account in the selection, and as such, do startups have a disadvantage? Not at all. I think that basically it's always open to everybody, except so for specific calls where it's only for SMEs, for instance, and then it's also specified in the call. But as I think it's really the quality of the proposal that counts, and not the size of the company. So it's definitely not a disadvantage. I think that's all for now. Okay, good. No other questions? Yeah, I think now you have to digest all this, because I know it's a lot of information, and as I told you, the Horizon Europe, it's a big machine. The important thing is to now to identify certain calls that may be interesting. Also, look into the other section, other actions section of the work plan. So we have a destination 1 to 6 with the associated calls, and then after that you have the section about other actions, and there you also can find very interesting calls, as I mentioned, with the Cassini new space accelerator and things like that. And then don't hesitate to contact me. If you don't have my contact details, they are also on the first slide, one of the first slides of this presentation. Yes, good. So someone is typing. Okay, no other questions. So thanks to everybody. Thanks for your patience and for listening so long. And then I wish you good luck, and don't hesitate to contact me. And then, yeah, see you around. Goodbye, everybody.